and St. Kitts, those in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to all of our friends and family in the United States, those in Canada, those across the pond in the United Kingdom, those in Taiwan, and wherever else you may be. Special good evening to you. This is Mark Brantley welcoming you to another edition of On the Mark, Real Talk Across the Narrows. I have not been with you for a little while, and so I'm delighted to be back. I want to thank the Honorable Troy Liburd for filling in for me on the last occasion, and to say that it is a pleasure to be back to spend some time with you. Each Wednesday we come with a 2-hour show that we hope is of some interest to you. We open the lines after a while to accept some calls, and so we encourage you to call in when the chance arises and to share your views and opinions. I start by expressing some condolences. I know sometimes people would call and say that they too want to express condolences to others. Certainly if I get the information, then at the top of the show I tend to do that. This evening, however, I want to take a moment to extend some deep condolences to my dear friend, Mr. Levine, as he is called. Everybody, I think, knew him as Crib. And Crib was a very good friend of mine. He was a good friend to all, someone who was loved by all, someone who was well known in the Brown Hill community, and someone who really gave back much to the island of Nevis and to the community of Brown Hill. He passed away in the United States after battling with an illness for some time, and there was a point when he and I spoke, and I really did think that he would beat this illness. He was such a strong individual, but of course God had a different plan. And so I just want to use this rostrum this evening to extend condolences to his family, particularly to my dear friend Mildred and the entire circle there in Brown Hill, to the entire Brown Hill community, his family in New York, and to all of Nevis. Crib, I believe, demonstrated his passion for life and the type of person he was by the way he took care of his mom. And I recall him very fondly telling me that he was coming down, he was bringing in a particular gravestone for his mom's tomb, and he was going to do the work personally, and that he did. And so I would want to just extend my condolences to him and the entire family. I'm told that the homegoing service for him will be on about the 14th of September, and I believe that it is a time when I hope that as many people as possible will go and pay their respects and support the family. And so I'm praying and hoping that all of Nevis, all of New York, and all of the Nevisian community there, that they will hold up the family in their prayers and remember them, because prayer does strengthen all of us, and certainly in our darkest hour we tend to turn to the one who can comfort, the great comforter. And so I'm hoping that, as I want to say, that the prayers of the multitude will comfort Mildred and the entire family in their hour of grief on the passing of a really great individual, the man we called Crib. And so with those words, I want to extend deep condolences to them, from myself, my family, but also from all of us here at Von Reed and all of us here at On The Mark. Passing on from that, I would want to move from a word of condolence to a word of commendation. I want to take the opportunity to commend all of our students who did well at CAPE and at CSEC level. I want also to commend the teachers, the staff of the various schools. I want to commend the Minister Youth and Troy Liburd, the Junior Minister in Education, the Permanent Secretary in Education, Mr. Barrett, and of course the PEO, Mrs. Wilkin, and the entire team for continuing to work hard. Our teachers who continue to work hard and to give the best that they can give in molding young minds. Our children would not be the success that they are, and the results would not have been what they are were it not for the efforts of many. I also want to commend the parents who spend the time with their children to encourage them, to provide the needs of their children so their children can go out and be the best that they can be. I want to thank all of those who have contributed so much, and to celebrate in particular with the Gingerland High School, the Gingerland Secondary School, which has, for the second time in a row, I'm advised, recorded the highest pass rate in the Federation, meaning that the most number of children on a percentage basis, those who did the exam compared to those who passed. And I'm told that they registered at 96%, which is unprecedented. It is really a phenomenal achievement, and I think Gingerland ought to take a bow. They have done phenomenally well. At CAPE as well, I think that the students from Nevis have performed incredibly well. We're waiting, of course, for an announcement as to who the state scholar is going to be. But we think certainly that Nevis has a good chance of winning the state scholarship, being the top scholar for the entire federation. And so we look forward to our young people going off to do great things. I also want to take a moment to commend 5 young people who have between yesterday and today departed for Taiwan. I gather some may also be leaving tomorrow to pursue studies there. I want to commend these youngsters from Nevis. Most are coming from families where they would be the first in their family to have gone to university, and some, 2 at least, are going to be doing medicine. And so I really want to commend them and to wish them all the very best, and to say really to our public that this is what government is all about. This, for me, is the joy of being in government, is to seek to empower our people, particularly our young people. Each and every one of those youngsters who has been given an opportunity, we hope will seize that opportunity, will go off and will come back equipped, better equipped, to serve themselves, their families, their communities, and their nation. And that is what we do. That is why we are here as members of government, to really do the very best we can to promote and to help and to encourage and to ensure that our people achieve the highest possible heights. And so I'm really delighted that these youngsters are headed off. For other youngsters who are going off as well, many of them, dozens of them with government assistance, I want to thank them as well and their families, and continue to pledge our support and our commitment to them, that we hope and trust that they will continue from strength to strength. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me a moment to say a word about crime and criminality. It's a topic that you know I've never shied away from. It is a difficult period in our history. It is a time that we have had now for quite some time, a difficulty with crime and criminality, particularly with violence among our young men. I continue to encourage our young men to break this cycle of death and jail that they appear to be in. I continue to encourage our young men to get away from this, whether it's in the schools or in the communities generally. The thought that a youngster from one area of Nevis cannot go to another area to find work, or even to have a girlfriend or a relationship of any kind, to visit family, because those areas are somehow at war, is abhorrent to me. And speaking for myself, having been born in Handley's Road, reared in Brownhill, I cannot imagine that there's any community on the island of Nevis that I would be unwelcomed or would feel uncomfortable. Nevis is our Nevis. I keep saying it. It belongs to all of us. And the young man from Jessops must be able to go to Rollins or to Handley's Road or to Zion. The young man from Cotton Ground to Fountain and Brickhill and anywhere else that he or she may wish to go. I have come to this point because, of course, we heard that we had yet another murder in the Federation on the island of St. Kitts, our sister island. And at this time it was the son of my colleague minister and fellow cabinet member Ian Patches-Liburd. I have expressed my own condolences to him. I do so now publicly to him and to his family, as I did in my press conference this morning. It really says to us that crime is no respecter of persons. It can affect all of us. It is a cancer. It's a cancer in our midst that we must together seek to eradicate. Too often we hear excuses. You won't hear any from me, because I agree that the buck must stop with the government. But I also agree that the government cannot do it alone. The police cannot do it alone. And too often those in the community who clamor for more action, who are the first to decry the state of criminality that exists in some quarters in our society, are the very ones who have information and refuse to share, are the very ones who enable the criminal activity by seeing and not saying, and even worse sometimes, by enabling criminality, by hiding contraband, engaging or turning the other way, turning the blind eye to those who are smuggling in contraband into the country and the like. I am asking our people, please, to engage, and to engage fully. If you are really committed to seeing the type of Nevis and St. Kitts that we want and that we desire, then you must engage. You cannot be aloof, because the next time the criminal may be coming for you, he may be coming for me. We have no control over that unless we as a community decide enough is enough, and we place our hands in each other's hands and we work together to resolve this. This is not about politics. It's not about the church. It is not about the business community. It's about all of us. No one group has the entire responsibility. The parents in the homes must do their job. Too many parents are not doing their jobs. Too many people seem to feel that having children and enjoying the activity that leads to having children, that is where it starts and it ends. Parenting is serious business. If you can't afford it, stay out of it. If you don't want it and you're not serious about it, stay out of it or wait until you're ready for it. Parenting is a serious business. It is not a follow fashion business that you see your friend down the road have a child. Oh, she cute. Oh, she cute. Let me go look one too. No. Parenting is serious business. And we cannot continue to operate as if we're animals in the wild and we just have children and the children do whatever they want. Children must be reared. They must be brought up. They must have some principles. And you parents out there who are enabling some of this crime and criminality. You're hiding contraband for your children. You're hiding gun. You're seeing your daughters come home with things that you know they cannot afford because they're not working. You're not asking any questions. You're enabling all of this. I'm asking you, I'm appealing to you to change course. To change course. Because at the end of the day, the course upon which we are now on leads to nowhere but the jailhouse or the cemetery. It's the only two places it can lead us. And if you have any love for your children and you want to not have the burden of losing a child in the prime of his life, 20s, early 20s, mid-20s, to bury a son, to bury a brother, I'm calling on families to do the right thing and to engage with their children and engage with their communities. And in those communities which are troubled communities, for the communities themselves to say that this type of behavior is unacceptable. The days of all of us turning a blind eye, we really need to get beyond those days. And so I invite us all to renew our commitment. I know the police are doing their job, but the police can't be everywhere. I've instituted regular meetings with the High Command in Nevis. I have every confidence in Superintendent David and his team. But they can't be everywhere. And they need your support. They need our support. And our public needs, I believe, to decide what they want. And I'll give you a recent example. A concerned citizen got in touch with me and said that they were at a particular place and they saw some masks on sale in an environment where masks have been banned as importation purposes, and in an environment where we're being told that a lot of crimes, robberies and the like are being committed by people wearing masks. The government took an initiative to ban certain types of masks from coming into the island. This person said to me that this is what was the case. The customs responded, found quite a few of these masks which were illegal, confiscated them. Now, one would have thought that in a society clamoring for greater law and order, that the public would have rejoiced to say, hey, we are very happy at these efforts. But no. A certain segment of the public, perhaps for political reasons, perhaps out of ignorance, I'm not sure why, decided that the best course of action was to lambaste the customs and the security forces, to say that what they were doing was nonsense, and that these laws should somehow not be enforced. And I remember one of the comments that struck me. The person said, why don't you go look for the murderers? And so I had to ask myself, is it that other crimes should be ignored? And it's an important question. Because on the one hand, our society continues to encourage disorder. It continues to encourage disrespect. It continues to encourage a coarsening of our interaction with each other. Just recently I was told by a young woman who was highly offended that she went into a particular place to do business, and there were two men right there. And she said the language that they sought to employ in their discussion at the top of their voices was horrible. And here was a young woman, and neither of them thought that they should not be engaging in that way, that disrespectful way, in the presence of a lady. And the minute that one were to say something, people say, oh, who you think you be? You're playing this, you're playing that. No. I am saying that it is time that we as a community start to demand that our people conduct themselves in a particular way. There's a time and place for everything. And the way that you may have a discussion with your partner, if you're all liming, is different to the way that you would speak if you're in a public place and there are people around. It has to be. And our people are capable of making that adjustment, but for whatever reason they choose not to. So we have come to a point where we feel we must be in the squares, we must drink our rum. If we want to use the bathroom, we just go off and act as if there's a public bathroom there. We must swing on the chains, we must break them down, we must deface public property, we must do all of this thing because somehow that is what we're saying to ourselves is our right. Recently, we had occasion, after consultation with the police decided that they would seek to crack down on illegal vending in and around the streets in Charlestown. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be straight and direct. It's the only way I know. We will not sit back and allow Charlestown to become a place where, as I refer to it today, it's just a place where it's out of control, where disorder rules. Charlestown is a picturesque town. It is a historic town. It is a place, I think, where people should want to go. And we cannot allow a situation where any Tutmun Saman Bagay who feels like it get up out the house this morning and say, let me just go in town and spread a blanket on any sidewalk that I could find and sell 2 potatoes, sell 2 yams, sell 2 pumpkins, sell 2 t-shirts. We cannot allow our town to degenerate to that, to disintegrate to that. And I'm not going to hold any water in my mouth. Whenever we stand up and ask people to do what is right, the response you normally get is, oh, poor people need to make a living. And I agree, everybody needs to make a living. But that is why there are rules. That is why there are laws. That's why there are regulations. To allow everybody the same playing field, the same framework within which they would make their living. Now tell me how can it be fair, just and right in the sight of man or in the sight of God, that I as a young person go into town and rent an office space. Say I have a little store. I'm selling t-shirts in my store. I have my business license. I'm paying my rent. And I'm conducting myself in accordance with law. And a man wake up tomorrow morning and he just come in and take some hook and hang them on my window outside and put up his t-shirt for sale. Jah Rastafari selling t-shirt. Selassie I. I'm saying it is improper, it is not right, it is not just, it is not fair. And I'm not going to sit about and try to cuddle anybody. Our people need to start to be responsible. And what we're seeing happening in Charlestown now, people are taken to the streets on a daily basis. Now here's what we're saying. And here's what the police have said. Just this morning, I checked with the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. And he's telling me that the public market, which is designed, in fact, it was upgraded under the NRP regime when they were in office, that the public market has space. It was designed for vending. And for whatever reason, some people are deciding not to go in the market, but to go outside the market and set up on the street illegally and sell the same produce that the people in the market are selling. Now, how could that be fair to those in the market who are willing to pay their $5 a day for a stand in the market to sell? You hear what I said? $5. The cost of a small bottle of water in Nevis. That's what it's a stipend. It's just a token payment. So it can't be about the payment. It's not that the cost is prohibitive. It's that our people just feel that, listen, I will vend wherever I want. I will do what I want. I will sit down in the square and drink rum and behave anywhere I want. And I don't care about you or about anybody else. And we have some in the society that when the police come along and say, listen, We are going to enforce the laws, because all of those activities that I've described are against the law. We have some so-called educated members of the community who would then chastise the police and say, they're wrong, let them leave people alone. Tell them leave people alone. I am saying, and I want there to be no doubt in anybody's mind, that this Nevis Island administration will support the police 100%. Will support the security forces unequivocally, because law and order has to be the foundation of any successful society. And our people must understand that, listen, there's nobody who's trying to prevent you from making a living. We're simply saying, do so within the confines of the law and of the regulations that exist to serve everybody. You can't have the law being applied to some people and then other people feel that it must not apply to them. That is not right. And so we are saying, let us create a level playing field where Tut Mun Saman Bagay, who say they want to sell, they want to vend, a place is provided for them. And we have the public market with available spaces. So I hope that you'll go and apply to the Ministry of Agriculture and get your space at the public market to sell your goods, because that is where we want you to be. In the fullness of time, we hope to create around that area a more aesthetically pleasing environment where tourists and everybody would be encouraged to go to the market, even as a destination, to see what market life is like. But in the interim, we are not prepared to countenance Charlestown degenerating to what we see happening in capitals around the Caribbean, where people come in and they can't even walk on the sidewalk, they must walk on the road and risk getting knocked over by a motor vehicle because people are illegally occupying the sidewalks, say they're selling whatever it is they're selling. So I am not going to sit here and pretend or sugarcoat it. I'm saying to vendors, please work with us. We're seeking to provide an environment for you to make your money, but for you to do so legally, rather than creating a nuisance and conducting yourself in an illegal manner. And in that regard, the police, again, has our support. We'll continue to work closely with all to ensure that Nevis is the type of society which is just and right and based on law and order, where we respect each other, we respect the law, we respect all that is good and proper, and we conduct ourselves accordingly. And that's what I'm asking, and that's the tone that I've said from the start that I hope to set for this premiership that I've been privileged to be given by the people of Nevis, and this government that I've been privileged to lead. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the cusp of the 35th anniversary of our independence. We will celebrate 35 years of independence on the 19th of September 2018, having achieved independence 35 years ago on the 19th of September 1983. It is a significant milestone. We also have the Heroes Day celebration and the Heroes Weekend, which comes up, I think, starting on the 14th, I believe, of September. The Nevis Island administration has discussed within the cabinet what we could do, which would be of some significance to give back to our people, to seek to celebrate with our people, to seek to encourage the togetherness, the oneness, the one Nevis that we have advocated and that we are proposing. And to that end, we have decided to have a free reggae concert. And that free reggae concert will take place on the evening of Sunday the 16th of September, the Monday being a holiday. And it will start at 9 p.m. on the 16th. And we are very pleased that we have been able to attract two phenomenal reggae bands, bands that are the leading lights in the industry and have been there, what I would call iconic bands, Third World and Steel Pulse. For the first time, Third World and Steel Pulse will be on the same stage on Little Nevis, an historic event, and we're inviting one and all to come out. To make this event even more historic, the event will be free. F-R-E-E, free. Meaning that you will not have to pay to enter to enjoy what we hope to be an evening of conscious music. All we're asking people is to wear your national colors And to enter the venue, it will be at the Cultural Village, and we hope that thousands will come out. I am hoping that we can get 10,000 people in the Cultural Village for this night, a night of thanksgiving, a night of celebration, a night of togetherness, a night of consciousness, and a night to bring our people together as we celebrate our national heroes. Beyond that, I do not think that many of our people, particularly our young people, that they would know that the original drummer for Steel Pulse, Steve Grizzly Nisbet, was from Nevis. Grizzly would have left Nevis at the age of 9 and moved to England with his family, and there he would have encountered and met the other members of the band that later became Steel Pulse. And he was their drummer from 1977 until 2001. And so for their biggest hits, and for the period when Steel Pulse was at the top of the reggae game, when you talked about big bands, you talk about Bob Marley and the Wailers, you talk about Steel Pulse, you had to mention them. They were always within the top, say, 4 or 5. They've toured with everybody. And in Nivision, for all those years, Steve Grizzly Nisbet was the drummer. Well, in January of this year, Steve passed away. And so the band has got in touch with us, and the band has indicated that they want to do a tribute to Steve, and they want to do so in Steve's homeland of Nevis. And so that is how the Steel Pulse part of it came into being, and we decided, you know what, let us blend it all and have one single celebration. And so Nevisians and Kititians, Antiguans and Barbadians, Monstratians and St. Martiners, whoever is listening, we'd want to invite you to come, those from VI who can make it, and be a part of this very historic celebration, where we not only have great music, but we have the connection with Nevis and Steel Pulse, and the drummer Steve Nisbet, who was an integral part of that band in its greatest days. And so, just the idea of having Steel Pulse and Third World on the same stage on the same night, phenomenal for Nevis. We intend to put on a good show, and as I said, we're asking people to bring 2 things: your best behavior and to wear your national colors. St. Kitts Nevis on display. We want really to have a wonderful event there to encourage. The vendors, I'm told that the booths are going to be available. We're asking you to contact Abernathy Library to ensure that you're part of this. And really the idea is that we have a wonderful event to honor our heroes and pay tribute at the same time to Steve Grizzly Nisbet. I'm told that in terms of local acts, the youngsters De Jour and Byron Messiah, who from St. Kitts are doing incredibly well, and the youngster from Nevis, Ripper HD, that they will all be a part of this concert. And so 9 p.m. September 16th, Sunday, September 16th, we're inviting one and all to the Cultural Village to be a part of this truly historic event to celebrate our heroes and to pay tribute to a Nevisian who has done well, Steve Grizzly Nisbet, and who has now passed on. Let me move on to one other important matter. Today I had my press conference, and I was very privileged to announce that the next Deputy Governor General for the island of Nevis will be Mrs. Hailita Liburd of Brownhill. It gives me immense pleasure because I grew up as a youngster admiring Mrs. Liburd and Mr. Liburd, her husband, but admiring how they lived, how they functioned as a family, how they raised their 2 daughters, and their contribution, their lifetime of service to the people of Nevis. Mrs. Liburd would have served for some 39 years in education. She would have held every possible position and would have retired as Principal Education Officer. She holds a degree in education from the University of Miami, and she has in the past been awarded the Independence Awards in St. Kitts Nevis and in Nevis. I am really delighted that she has responded to the call to serve the people of Nevis in this high constitutional office. Since the announcement has been made, there's been an outpouring of support. And indeed, when I open the lines, if there are those out there who would want to extend congratulations or to extend a word of encouragement to Mrs. Hailita Liebert, I would encourage you to do so. When I spoke to her, she said to me, "Why her? Why me? I never aspired to this. I never sought this or looked for it." And I said, "You know, perhaps that is why. That you have so lived your life in such a way that it is as if it were a shining beacon on the hill. It is a light that has not been hid under a bushel, but rather has been put there to guide others and to inspire others." And I think that when we look at people who have lived that kind of life, unblemished, good character, hard work, doing it the way it ought to be done, raising their children properly, investing in their children, investing in their home, investing in their island, and giving service, not to self but to others. That is why in the fullness of time, these people are called upon, because they have so conducted themselves, they have so lived their lives, that we, all of us, feel comfortable calling on them, knowing that we will not be disappointed. Mrs. Liebert is also a woman. You may find it strange that I put it that way, but I think that it's important. United Nations has indicated that one of the Sustainable Development Goals has to do with empowering women and girls. I would like, in the fullness of time, for it to be said of the island of Nevis that we were way ahead of the United Nations when they talked about empowering women and girls. That our women and girls have been empowered to the point where they're now the leaders in so many different ways in our country. And that is as it should be. There ought to be no inequality, no absence of opportunity for our women and girls. And we felt that having the head of Nevis, the head of government, represented the Deputy Governor General, the principal office in the island, that having a woman in that office is of significance, that it then becomes a calling card, it becomes a symbol for other women and girls to know that they can aspire to be anything that they want to be. And so for us, Mrs. Liebert ticks all the boxes. And I commend her. Mrs. Liebert, if you're listening, from the bottom of my heart, I commend you. On Friday morning, we will have the formal ceremony where Mrs. Hailita Liebert will take the oath to become the next Deputy Governor General for the island of Nevis. I hope the public will come out and support, and that those who can be there will be at the courthouse in Charlestown. I believe the ceremonies get underway at about 10:45. It will be, I believe, an auspicious day for the island of Nevis. But let me, in leaving that matter, say a word about the Honorable Marjorie Morton. The Honorable Marjorie Morton accepted the call from the then Premier, the Honorable Vance Amory, to serve in an acting capacity as Deputy Governor General after we lost His Honor Eustace John. Mrs. Morton has served with distinction. She has been a wonderful, wonderful public servant, and she has really, really engaged in such a way that the dignity of the office of the Deputy Governor General has been enhanced, has been burnished. She too has lived a wonderful life of service. And when she indicated that she was not prepared to continue, I could not persuade her, because I recognize that she clearly had other plans and wanted to do other things. And one can understand that, because she had lived a life of long service to the people of Nevis. But I want, from this rostrum tonight, to say to the Honorable Marjorie Morton, Her Honor Marjorie Morton, that you have served well. You have served with dignity and with distinction. It has been my honor to serve with you, and I trust and pray that you will continue to do well in all of your future endeavors. We thank you for your service, and I'm hopeful that on Friday I will get an opportunity, as you take your final bow and as you demit office on Friday, that I will get that opportunity to thank you in a more formal setting. But now, since I'm here on the mark and I know lots of people listen, I really want to extend to you our profound gratitude for your service and for the dignity with which you served in your position as Deputy Governor General for Nevis, acting for the past year. Mrs. Morton, thank you. And Mrs. Liburd, we look forward to working with you. I believe it's a good day, it's a good time for Nevis, and that Nevisians at home and abroad can be rightfully proud that these quality of individuals, this quality of public servants are available to us to serve in these high constitutional positions. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been speaking for about 40 minutes almost. Some have accused me and say that, it's no longer a call-in show, it's a talking show. So I need to open the lines now at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. But before I do so, let me take one last moment to extend my own condolences to the family of Ursula Phillip, who passed away and was laid to rest this past weekend in Georgia. I traveled to Georgia to be there for the ceremony. I was in Georgia only for about 24 hours, but I was happy that I went. Many would have heard me over the months say goodnight to Ursula and Ursula. And these were my dear friends. Ursula Phillip was passed on, and her daughter also, Ursula Phillip. And indeed now I say good evening to just one Ursula, because Ursula Phillip, the elder, has passed away. It is my hope that she's in heaven looking down on us. And Ursula, if you can hear me, I say good night to you in heaven. I was delighted to be there with the family and to see the love and camaraderie that exists between them. And I want to extend my condolences again to the entire family, those here in Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those in Antigua, those in the Virgin Islands, and those throughout the United States. I also want to take a moment, because it has come to my attention that Dr. Rouse, who was brought to Nevis by Ursula Phillip, and who has come and has really given yeoman service to us in cardiac care, caring for patients here who have diabetes and hypertension and the like, that his biological mother has also passed away. And I want to extend my condolences to Dr. Rouse. I'm not sure if he listens to the program, but certainly if anyone is listening, that they can convey to him our deepest condolences and to thank him for his unselfish and unflinching service to the people of Nevis. We trust and hope that the prayers of the multitude will comfort them all in their hour of bereavement. On that note, I now open the lines 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Let's go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Greetings, my beloved brother. How are you and your family?
We're well, thank you very much.
Yes, my beloved brother. My beloved brother, before I go on, I'd like to say condolences to my beloved brother. Brother Patches, brother who I love dearly, my beloved brother. This is a brother I could call anytime on his cell and he will answer. And I have three favorite ministers. Patches is number one, you're number two, and the Prime Minister is number three. My three favorite ministers, my beloved brother. So my condolences go out to him and his family and the passing of his son. You know what went down, the brutal, I'll say murder, my beloved brother. But my beloved brother, this crime and violence, my beloved, it been going on for too long. Since the early 90s, my beloved brother. This madness must come to an end. I know we can't eliminate crime and violence 100%. Beloved brother, we know what times we are living in, but we must minimize it to us possible, my beloved brother. We must, beloved brother, and we must take it to these devils, because that's what they are. They're evil people, and the misguided young men among them, to beloved brother, because I always believe know, some people are not too bad to change, especially at a certain age. You know, so my beloved brother, all of us, along with the police, the defense force, but civilians must, beloved brother, must take a stand. You know who are doing the crime? Report it. Go to Commissioner Queeley. Speak to him if you don't want to speak to an ordinary police officer. Beloved, we must, man, but we must take this thing to the criminals and tell them this little group of evil people should never allow to hold the people of St. Kitts Nevis under siege, my beloved brother, and living in fear, beloved brother, that they can enjoy their life. But at the amount of prosperity that is going on in St. Kitts Nevis, especially under this government, beloved brother, we must enjoy that to the maximum, beloved brother. But saying that, when you hear with all these homicides, my beloved brother, you know, it is just fearful for others, brother. And I will say, beloved brother, desperate times call for desperate measures. And my beloved brother, hear me and hear me well, beloved brother. I have some solution, not all the solution, but I'm just going to mention one kind of others want to speak too. My beloved brother, I will advocate. I am not for the death penalty. Don't care how hideous the crime or crimes are, my beloved brother. I am not for the death penalty. Even if it's my children, I have 6 and I have 14 grandchildren. And even if they were living down there, beloved brother, I mean only one of my one of my children are born here. That's my oldest daughter and first child. Beloved brother, so I am saying, beloved brother, we must have community policing, beloved brother. Deputize civilians, give them police powers, beloved brother, and they must be armed. They must be armed. That anyone coming at any time of the day to do any harm to anyone in that particular community, the police can apprehend them. That group of community watchers will deal with them, my beloved brother. We cannot allow these criminals to run rampant and run wild. Like they are uncivilized, brother. We must keep them under control and weed them out wheresoever they are. And they must be brought to justice, my beloved brother. It's too long. Too long, beloved brother. How much more can we take in a small population that is less than 60,000? Because the last figure here is about 55,000 people. Beloved brother, almost everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis know each other. We know who are in Pandia, who just come in the community, and nobody cannot tell me they don't know who are doing these crimes, brother. They need to speak out and stop adapt this North American thing that if you say something, you know something, and you say something, it's snitching. That is not our way. That is a foreign thinking, foreign mentality, my beloved brother. And our people must abandon that foolish and self-hating, and you know, ain't gonna get us nowhere like that. We must think about our children, our grandchildren, and our beloved country, St. Kitts Nevis, first and foremost. And let me warn some of these people who support a certain political party, stop glorifying indulgent homicides under this administration, because you're not doing, Brother Mark Bradley, anything. You're not doing the other ministers of government anything. You're bringing on the country and bringing on your people. And if you say you love your country and love your people, which I know many of them don't, because they won't toe that line, my beloved brother. You know, so we just got to do the right thing and take it to the criminals I left no stone unturned in weeding out all these criminal and devilish elements and misguided elements. My beloved brother, I've said a mouthful. You take care, keep up the great works. Pan-Africanism will perish. One love, my beloved brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that, and I could hear the passion in your voice. Let's go back to the phones. Continue to take some calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Miss Sharon.
Good evening, my dear. How are you?
My premier. Job 19, 28 and 29. But he should say, why persecute we him, seeing that the root of the matter is found in me? Be he afraid of the sword, for wrath bringeth the punishment of the sword, that he may know that there is a judgment. Sympathy is going out to Harvey Liebert and family and the Newton at Bat Village on the passing of Sherilyn Liebert in Rollins Village. Sympathy is going out at Bat Village to Alice Charles at the passing of her daughter, Ola Charles. Sympathy is going out to the Maynard and Hendrickson family at Hanley's Road on the passing of their brother, Franklin Maynard. Sympathy is going out to Mildred Paris and family on the passing of her loving brother, Crib Paris, in the USA. Sympathy is going out to Wise and family at Zetland Village on the passing of Roosevelt Herbert. Speedy recovery to my loving cousin in Canada and my nephew. May God continue to take care of them. Hip, hip, Governor General Hailita Liebert. And good night to Miss Margie Morton on her wonderful work she has done. Hip, hip again. Good night.
Okay, thank you very much. And I could always depend on you to give us an account of those who have passed. I want to join you in extending deep condolences to all who are mourning, and to let them know that our prayers are with them, and the prayers of the multitude will comfort them in their hour of grief. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yes, good night, Honorable Brantley. How are you?
Good evening to you. I'm well, thank you.
Time. I was giving you a break from the Culturama and all those boats making trip. I know it was a success.
Thank you.
It have a labor man that's calling on your program and all the rest program and always want to bring down the government and say nothing good is doing. I don't know how long he will keep it up for. I want you to remind him his boss came in the dead of night to make sure you did not get there. But God is good. You answer your reporters very good. I see you on TV receiving some agriculture things.
Yes.
Thanks to Honorable Simmons and thanks to you to be a part of unity. And that Mr. Parry congratulate you on your bill. But down here, bad since a barn, don't even want to congratulate the government on nothing. But every chance he gets abusing. The ways of man is forward and strange. As for the pure, his work is right. Be not thou envious of evil men, neither desire to be with them. I want to sympathize with Mr. Liebert again, and remember, no minister put no guns in their hand. Don't be distracted by them. Mr. Brantley, you hear what the reporter asks you and what you ask him. We will be accepting you anytime. The Prime Minister is a bright man. He could not get them resign. How come they want him to do that? We say that. We will decide, and when he's ready. Thank you. Good night.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I'm happy you mentioned something that I really should have spent a moment on in my opening, and that is the phenomenal gifts that we received from the Republic of China and Taiwan. Over $1.5 million worth of farm equipment. I believe there were 2 pickup trucks brand new, 2 tractors brand new, backhoe brand new, and certainly a vehicle for the Premier, which is also brand new. And they have really stepped up. They came and we had a wonderful presentation yesterday at Pinnis Park. I should also say that the much talked about Pinnis Park, they will have a delegation here in the next few days, coming to finalize plans for that park, and we hope to see that finally come to fruition with their assistance. So I want to extend a warm thank you to the Republic of China and Taiwan, and certainly to the new ambassador, Ambassador Tom Chow Chang Lee, who has just taken up office only 2 weeks ago. And it's the fact that for his first visit, he came bearing all of these gifts, we think is quite significant. And I cannot leave that without also commending the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, who as Minister of Agriculture has really been a force behind pushing to get these benefits for Nevis. And it's a pleasure to work with him, and I look forward certainly to continuing that relationship long into the future. So thank you very much to Taiwan. Thank you to Alexis Jeffers for his hard work and dedication, and thank you to all of those now who will benefit from this farm equipment that has been donated. Over $1.5 million, the largest ever single donation that the people of Nevis have received. And they not only brought that, they also brought a check for $15,000 to allow the Agricultural Department to buy a walk-in freezer, which they will use to provide additional storage for mango pulp in particular, so that Nevis, we hope, will shortly be exporting mango pulp to neighboring islands. And so we're moving in the right direction. Slowly, slowly, we're building Nevis brick by brick. That is what we promised to do, and that is what we're doing. Let's go back to the phones and take some additional calls. Good evening. We've lost that caller. Let's try this one. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Granty.
Yes, good evening to you.
Yes, this is Sally you're calling it. Right? Concerning the vendors, the street vendors, I'm calling to let you know, the chairman of the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce and Industry in New York, we had that problem where people were, selling on the street, blocking up the areas and whatever. But we built an area for them, with the help of the government here, and they were off the street. We built 48 booths in an enclosed area, and they were able to sell their goods because they were harming the people who were paying for the stores by hanging their goods outside and, doing, different things, blocking up the street. And I'm in support of you, your government, by doing by removing them to a location where they will be off the streets now, at the public market. I know you're going to have a lot of people going to say whatever they want, but it's the right thing to do. And no matter what happened, I know the brother calling earlier and mentioned, the crime situation and whatever is going on. But at the same time, let me ask that person, before, when they had the death penalty, what was the number of murders and what is the number of murders now after the hanging or whatever was done in thinking stop to kill those murderers? So, it's a numbers game. You just have to watch and see what's going on now to what was going on before you could, everybody might say, it's a bad act or whatever it is, but we see what's going on now, and if it's not working, maybe we need to step back. And at the same time, you guys are trying, and I have heard so many people now are putting in their 2 cents. You guys are trying and they're putting in their 2 cents, stating that the army and the policemen should not be working together. Right? The army men are there, and instead of staying in the barracks all day or whatever they have to do, and and if they're out there looking out for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, I don't know what is wrong with that. But then, you can't help everybody. You just have to do, the government there just have to do the best for the people, because a certain percentage going to oppose anyway, no matter what happens. So you just have to stay focused and try to do the best you can do. Just, in your heart, follow your mind and do the right thing.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents for this evening.
All right, my brother.
And your friend Crib,
Yes.
the Angels have one of the best dressed divisions with them now, because Crib has gone. Crib passed away. Okay, good night.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Before we take the next call, I've just been sent a note here. Let me just read that the Hearts and Hands, I'm sorry, forgive me. NEVDC, Hearts and Hands is in New York. NEVDC in Washington, D.C., they're having their honors banquet. The theme is Music Integrates, Educates, and Entertains, Bridging the Gap Through Music. The keynote speaker will be Miss Lyra Richards. The honorees are Mr. Antonio Abernathy Liebert and Mr. Clifford Ginger Walters. It all happens on September 29th, 2018, 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. The ticket price includes a Caribbean brunch on the following Sunday, September 30th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Admission price is $100. The event is taking place at the Holiday Inn Greenbelt, 7200 Hanover Drive, Greenbelt, Maryland, 20770. You can call 301-982-7000. That's the direct line to make reservations there. And so NEVDC is inviting one and all to come to this event that they have each year on September 29th, and they're honoring Abernathy Liebert and Mr. Clifford Ginger Walters, and the keynote speaker will be Miss Lyra Richards. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. We've lost that caller. Callers, we're asking you for your patience. Let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
How are you?
I'm good.
Uh-huh.
But I read the person there, boy.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Yes.
I'm calling to sympathy going out to honorable parties and party nation.
Yes.
And big.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
You're talking to me or you're watching TV?
No, talking to you about reading the paper. And thank them who say that they're going to help the people them who can't afford to pay for lights and all them kind of thing there.
Yes.
It's 500. But they're telling you how to spend your money when they give you the money.
Well, if you
and
give...
taking up try and you have a blessed evening.
Okay.
Can get to this, so
All
you
right.
have a good evening and take care.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And this caller has mentioned the $500 program that is being introduced. Just to remind the Nivision public that the community centers are open. They're taking information. Please look to when the information gatherers will be in your community. And we expect that you should go and give information if you think you qualify. If your household income is less than $3,000 a month, then you can qualify. Now, remember, I said your household income. So it's not just your income, but all the members of your household combined. If it's less than $3,000, then you qualify. So we're asking people to go in, be truthful with the information. It's intended to be an assistance to alleviate poverty, and we feel it's a good initiative, and we are certainly interested in as many people as possible benefiting from this initiative. So please look out for when we will be in your constituency, in your community, and we're using the community centers throughout the various communities. And so we ask people to go in and be a part of this very, very incredible effort, something that many said could not be done, that this Team Unity government is in fact doing. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yes, Mr. Brantley, good night. I just want to say thanks to you on behalf of myself and the entire family for remembering us in your prayers, and to all of the Nivision public at home and abroad for remembering us on the passing of all our brothers, father, uncle, friend, you name it. He was, he was a very, very, very good brother to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very, very good man to the community of Brown Hill, also to the island of Nevis. Now just like to say thanks to everyone who sent their condolences by their phone call or, but I'm going to miss my brother dearly. And I just want to say congratulations to Mrs. Liebert on her great achievement. May God continue to bless her.
Okay. Thank you, Mildred. Thank you very much, and our prayers are with you, okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the mark. Go ahead, please.
Go ahead, please.
You are on the air. Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening.
I would like to congratulate you on the chapter and things and that you got for Nevis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud. I'm feel glad that you left them. I'm glad. I'm feeling proud of the Unity Party too. My government, my ministers, I love my party, my Unity Party, and I'm so glad that you all form that Unity Party, that you all can achieve what is yours, what belongs to you all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know if never for the Unity Party and those things that come down here, I could tell you dog would have been better than all you all would have never, ever, ever get them, because I know in years gone by, under the former government, when anything come down here for Nevis, you all get the reject that thing kids have down here, and they keep the new one. And I want to say sympathy greetings going out to Honorable Cassius Liebert, the passing of his son, and also to the mother of the young fellow that got killed on Monday night. God bless you all. I love my Unity Party very much.
Well, thank you very much, and you're so correct. I think we've achieved a lot, and we'll continue to achieve. Thank you so much for your call. It is 5 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Let's go back to the telephones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you.
This is Mr. Lewis, sir.
Hi, Mr. Lewis. How are you?
Well, my condolences to you, sir, for your family in the United States, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's an issue, the two issues I want to ask you. Did you give your secretary an order not to see me on the 29th of last month, sir?
I wouldn't know, but if my secretary has said that I couldn't see someone, then it really means that I couldn't see them, because as you well know...
Oh, she told me plainly that you said you don't want to see me.
Well, I don't know about that. If it is that I can't see someone, then she would indicate that I can't see someone. It probably means that I was otherwise indisposed.
Yeah, well, I just want to confirm that to you, because I know from where we coming from, I'm afraid, I didn't expect you to tell her that she can't see me.
Okay. Well, as I said, if it is that she has indicated to anyone that I cannot see them, it's because I cannot see them. You should know that I see you almost every week, so I see you quite often. So it simply means that on that occasion I could not see you.
Well, it was rather important to speak to you on the 29th of last month. And
Okay.
upon that, I didn't get a hold of you at all, because she told me, well, you said you don't want to see me, so I take it to granted, well, you said so. That's why I want to find out if you have done so.
Okay. All right. Well, on another occasion you can certainly see me. Okay.
All right.
All right. Good. Take good care. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. We're taking your calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mark.
Good evening.
I'd like to say congratulations to Mrs. Hyleta Liebert on her achievement as the Deputy Governor General of the Federation. I'm extremely proud. Woman power seems to be ruling right now. I look forward to good things that from Mrs. Liebert. On behalf of my father, who's not in the Federation right now, I'd also like to congratulate her. Mark, I have a question and a concern about the vendors in Charlestown. I agree that sometimes it's quite chaotic walking through town with the different vendors and all of that. My concern is I'm not sure there's enough space in the market for everybody to go. And if I had the power to decide, certainly I don't, where that going up right now close to the market would not have happened, because I've always felt that that space would have made the best extension of the market for vendors. Having said that, though, the building where the former customs office used to be, are there any plans, immediate plans for use of that building? As I also think that that could be a very good space for vendors selling both food items and or tourist items, because certainly it's right off the pier, it's right in the middle of Charlestown. So I'm wondering, what plans does the government have for that building, and has that been in consideration?
Yes, the short answer is we do have some plans. We don't have the resources yet to execute those plans, but the idea is to create there some shops and offices and the like in that particular area. So we are thinking alike, because you are correct that the cruise passengers in particular come there, and it would be a natural environment for them to walk through and for them to shop. I'm not so sure where those plans are in terms of whether or not the architectural drawings have been completed, but I do know that it is something that we have been looking at, and I know Minister Spencer Brand in particular has been quite keen on doing something in that area. But as you know, much of what we do depends on availability of resources, and so that is something that we hope to do. We did not budget for it this year, but perhaps in this term, certainly, we would hope to do something about it. In relation to the question of vending, I'm happy that you admit that the current situation is chaotic, and that's what we're seeking to avoid. We need to nip this problem in the bud now, or we run the risk of it getting completely out of control, as it has done in other places that we have seen. It is very important that we deal with this and deal with it now, and to say to our people that they must be respectful of the law. The law says that the type of vending that is being done is unlawful, and they have to respect that. It to my mind is a tragedy to see people come and put up a clothesline in the square that is set up to honor our war dead. They run a clothesline and selling T-shirt. In the D.R. Walwyn Plaza, no different. I think that's a tragedy, and we need to start to say to our people that yes, they must make a living, but they must do so within the confines of the rules. The market has room. I have checked and I've ascertained that there are stalls available. And in fact, what I'm being told is that people have moved out of the market and onto the street because they say other people are doing it, so they might as well do it as well. We need to encourage people to use the facilities that have been provided. Now, if the response that I got was that the market is full, there is no room in the market, and therefore that is the reason why people are spilling out onto the streets, then I would think that there would be an argument for the government to do something more to create additional space. But until I'm told that, I don't know that we need additional space at this point. So I feel that people need to utilize the space that is there. The previous administration, I think, did an excellent job in improving the market. So it is a modern facility. It is a very nice facility to walk through on occasions. I myself have been there. And I think that vendors can go there, and the market itself can become a center for activity, even a visitor experience for tourists that come and want to experience a Caribbean market. But so long as people feel that they can go out onto the street and put a blanket outside the market because they refuse to go in the market and pay $5 per day. $5 per day. That's what I was told today is the cost of the stall. $5 per day. They sell a pound of potato for more than $5. So part of it is us encouraging our people to do the right thing as well. So I hear the discussion, I hear the argument. It is our intention ultimately to transform that entire street on which the market is from over by, what's his name now? They used to call him what? the Anslin family business at the end there come across to the market, to have that entire street sort of dedicated to vendors so that people can be there, and that we have an area that people know you can go and get your street food, you get your provisions and whatever the case may be. But that is a plan that we have as we look to develop Charlestown generally. But we're simply saying to people now, you can't expect to just come into town, park up your car, open the trunk and start selling. You come, you set up a blanket, spread it on Evelyn, the steps outside Evelyn or the steps outside First Caribbean or wherever, and start selling. It's not something that can be allowed to continue, because I know where that is going to end up. And pretty soon you and I will be walking in the middle of the road in order to walk through Charlestown.
Mr. Bentley,
yes.
That's a question. The Cotton Ginnery Mall, that I guess I call it a courtyard inside there, I've not been in there in a very, very long time. Is there space in there perhaps some of the vendors can go? That's one. Two, I just have two other quick points. I think the Public Works Department have done an excellent job in extending the sidewalk from the police station coming down to Government Road. Do you know if there are any plans to do something similar as you come down on the opposite side of the street and you make that corner from Main Street onto Prince William Street? Because that also sometimes is difficult to maneuver,
yes,
especially if traffic is going along there. And the last thing is, does the government have any plans to put parking meters along Main Street? Because parking is quite challenging, if not difficult at best. And quite frankly, downtown Charlestown has become, in my mind, an unfriendly place to do business when you can't find a parking space to run in and out of a business place, or you're not allowed. I shouldn't say you can't find parking space. You're not allowed to stop or park anywhere to do 5 minutes in and out of a business. And you're being told you have to go up to Raspberry or go up to the Methodist church or wherever. Does the government have any plans to create any parking?
Okay.
Closer to downtown?
The plan didn't have so much to do with parking meters along main streets there or in town. We are looking at the possibility of parking meters at the TDC, what we call the TDC parking lot, so that people don't abuse that, because sometimes people park and go away for 2 weeks. And so that too clogs up the system and doesn't allow for parking. For ease of parking. So we're looking at the possibility there of parking meters. However, or a parking fee, let me put it that way, because it may well be that we put an arm on one end and an arm on the other. But that is something that we are looking very carefully at. We have commissioned an overall plan to develop Charlestown, where we have what is referred to as a charrette that is produced and will show us where we can have pedestrian-only parking areas, etc. One of the things that the government has outlined, and we did so in our throne speech, is that we also recognize that there are bits and pieces of abandoned, I shouldn't say abandoned, what's the word I'm looking for? Empty lots around Charlestown. If you go up there, for example, next to Nevis Bakery, there's an empty lot there. If you go around on the way into town, you see some empty lots along Best Buy, close to Best Buy, in those areas. We are seeking to find out the owners of those lots and to see how we can partner with them to create some parking areas. We also intend to speak to the Methodist Church to see how we can use their parking area. But of course, if you're directing people to parking areas which are a little way from Main Street, you have to find some way to get them to and from Main Street. And so one of the ideas that we're looking at is to have simply these roving golf cart type. They have some larger ones, which are like a small little train, so to speak, in terms of the size, that people can hop on and hop off. And so they would make a complete circuit and just keep all day going around from the parking areas to town and back and around, so that if you had your bag of groceries, you just hop on and hop off at your car.
If I may suggest,
yes.
Premier Brantley, also at the back of the courthouse yard, there's a lot of space in there. I know that's blocked off at 4 o'clock, but there's a lot of space back there that can be created. Since I was a child, I've always heard that there's supposed to be some kind of marina back there. Well, that's a long, long time ago,
right.
And we've never seen that happen.
Right.
But certainly there's a lot of space back there that can be utilized better.
Well, there's space all around town. We're trying our best to do an inventory, and once that inventory is done, we'll be in a better position to approach landowners and to encourage them. We think that it could be something where currently land that is just lying there, abandoned or vacant, that's the better word, that it can be put to some use. And even if it is a $5 per day or whatever the cost may be, that we can see some parking areas being created in Charlestown which can provide some relief and take people off the main thoroughfare. So we are looking at a variety of matters, and we have, as I say, contracted a firm out of North Carolina, and we're looking at it very carefully with them, and we're waiting for them to come back with their recommendations. We propose to have some public consultations to inform the process and to see how best we can reconfigure Charlestown to make it fit for purpose. So that is where we are at this point. We have already contracted this firm, and we will look shortly to see the work and the consultations. So I suppose when those consultations occur, they will be advertised, and persons like yourself can hopefully come forward and share your ideas as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. It is 18 minutes past the 9 o'clock. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. Ladies and gentlemen, just to advise that the Honorable Eric Evelyn, Minister of Culture, has celebrated for his first outing, a very successful Culturama 44. He will be hosting, he tells me, on the 6th of September, I hope I have that date right, a press conference, wrap-up, if you will, of the Culturama, and he's inviting one and all. I think he says he'll have it at the Cultural Village, and he is inviting one and all to come out to that press conference, the members of the media, and as they report on Culturama 44, the highs and lows, the difficulties, the challenges, the successes, and what we intend to do to make Culturama 45, which you know is going to be a big Culturama, the biggest and best ever. So I'm putting in a plug for that, and for the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who's hard-working, really, really a wonderful addition to our team, and he has really done well, and Culturama 44 is an indication of the level of work that he has put in. And so he will be hosting that press conference, and I'm hoping that people will go out and to be supportive of that. Also to advise that the Honorable Troy Youthant Liburd, who's the Junior Minister in the Ministry of Education, he will address the public shortly on our exam results. The results at this point, I'm told, are still preliminary because we're still awaiting some results from CXC, but certainly he will address in due course on that, and so we look forward to that as well. Let's go back to the phones and continue to take your calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, let me first congratulate you for tackling the vending problem head-on, in such a forthright and decisive manner. Right? It contrasts with what happens down here in St. Kitts. It's a hot potato, yes, but leadership requires that you take a stand, not cowardly pass the buck. Crime should be treated, I think, likewise, right, in a likewise decisive manner. I noted that you recently mentioned the presence of Mr. Parry at a community event to tackle crime, and use it as evidence of an all-hands-on-deck approach. Mm-hmm. Well, once again, we should follow your lead. But down here, the politicians don't seem to understand that, and that really crime does not belong in the realm of politics. And they continue to use it as a wedge issue to divide our people. I mean, recently the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition went at each other, claws bared and, on this issue, right? And by the way, we have one Prime Minister at the time, and he should set the proper tone for the country, and he's failing that responsibility, okay? It appears that you have finally shamed the federal government into at least appointing an integrity commission, like you did in Nevis. I remain skeptical that we will see it fully operationalized before the next general election, because I think a number of candidates would be disqualified if the letter of the law is followed. My question to you, though, is how is that going in Nevis? I mean, have you started funding the work of the commission? Are you preparing the public servants and your colleagues for compliance with the law? And finally, you mentioned that we're coming up to 35 years of independence. Are you as Premier satisfied with the relations and the arrangements between St. Kitts and Nevis? Or do you think it's time for some kind of review or renewal or, changes, adjustments to the constitutional arrangements and those kinds of things? Or do you think everything is just hunky-dory right now and should stay that way? Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I think you use somewhat pejorative language when you suggested that we had somehow shamed the federal government into doing something. That is not accurate. The truth is that the unity government had committed to two major planks.
But you think that waiting until it's almost 11th hour, you governed for 5 years, it was on you did campaign on that plank.
Yes.
Do you think it was reasonable to wait this long, to govern for this long without that sort of legislation in place?
Well, caller, I think different people would have different views, and I'm not.
I mean, do you think it was reasonable?
Well, I think it was.
You said you did it 6 months. It took you 6 months.
Well,
to do it after you became Premier.
Well, whilst that is true, let us remember that we had legislation in place in Nevis since 2013 as well. And so what I did was not to pass legislation, but to operationalize it in relation to IPL, Integrity in Public Life.
Here, wasn't it?
Same thing down there, yes.
The act had been passed since 2013.
In terms of freedom of information, that is legislation that we would have passed in the first 6 months as committed to. But I don't think it's a question of the speed at which some things are done. I think we have to go back and we have to understand. And being in the cabinet, and being privileged to sit in the cabinet in both places, I was privy to the discussions. Unity would have campaigned on two things: a prosperity agenda and a good governance agenda. When we got into office, the feeling was that the prosperity agenda, that there was some urgent effort needed to get some of these projects that were not doing so well, including projects such as the new Park Hyatt project, which had faltered and were in difficulty, that the Prime Minister, I know in particular.
Oh, you buy that too? Okay,
well, don't tell me that I buy it. I was there.
Okay.
So I'm speaking from what I know, because I know the effort that had to go in to salvage that particular project.
Yeah, right.
There was considerable difficulty between the developers and between the individuals at Christophe Harbour.
As they are in most projects.
Yes, caller.
Right?
But do not.
I don't think it's nice to take credit for what you didn't.
Caller, you were not there. I was. So it's either you're going to tell me what happened. Well, so I'm trying to tell you what happened. You can believe it or you cannot believe. That's a matter for you. But I'm saying that I was there. And I understood the extent of difficulty that some of these projects presented and the amount of time and effort that had to go in. The Prime Minister himself had countless meetings, of which I was aware, to try and resolve some of these issues. A couple of projects had stalled, and so they were dedicated to this prosperity agenda. They said, let's get people to work, let's get the economy moving, let's get certain things done in a particular way. We were working on the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis, which, as you know, had always been a difficult experience in our history. And so we were working on all of these matters, and therefore the good governance agenda in terms of electoral reform, in terms of... I'm sorry?
Was put in the background? You don't
not that it was put in the background. No. Not that it was put in the background. But understand that every government is given a 5-year term to govern. And while the critics are out there, because I can assure you, if the government had spent the time focused on IPL, focused on freedom of information, there'll be other critics out there who say, why you don't focus on the economy and getting people to work?
So how come it took you 6 months and it took them 3.5
No,
years.
but it's not a question, because we face different situations and different challenges. That is like asking me how come Gaston can do something in Antigua in 6 months. So I think the effort to compare and to try to suggest that one is someone doing something or the other, it doesn't take into account the realities on the ground. And I think that, just today, in relation to this $500 matter relief that is being proposed, one journalist suggested that it was an election thing, elections around the corner. I'm like, around which corner? Elections are constitutionally due somewhere in April or May of 2020.
Well, none of us know when it's going to be.
Well, of course none of us know. We could have had it 6 months after the last one.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it is due sometime in April or May of 2020. We are now in August of 2018. So why is it people are willing to say, oh, something is an election gimmick, when it is obviously well within the range of the 5-year term? We had the same argument here in Nevis. There was some who were suggesting that CCM should lay down and don't do any work in the last year, because if they did any work, it's an election gimmick. That is nonsense. People elect you to govern for 5 years. And if it's my own philosophy that I should work up until the moment of the poll, to fulfill the commitments that I would have made to the people of the country. And so I see no difficulty at all in the approach. Some may say it should have come earlier. Some are satisfied. Being in it and understanding the pressures, I feel that the unity government is fulfilling its commitment on the good governance agenda as we did on the prosperity agenda. In Nevis, we made certain commitments and we've said, listen, this is a road on which we want to go. I am very big at reforming government, looking at how we can do things better, looking at how we can be more transparent and more open. We've introduced some things in Nevis that were not done before, but all of this is part and parcel of the overall effort to introduce a more transparent form of governance. That is what we're seeking to do. And so it's not a question of anybody shaming anybody else into doing anything. This was coordinated. This was coordinated. As a matter of fact, the Freedom of Information legislation was introduced for first reading in Nevis. And then we decided that we would delay any second reading to ensure that the federal legislation went forward and that the island legislation and the federal legislation, that they meshed, that they gelled. So all of this was coordinated. It's not a competition. It is an interest in moving both islands forward, moving the country forward in the right direction. And
I didn't say it was a competition.
Well, you say we shamed them into doing something, so I'm just correcting that.
It seemed as if they were dragged kicking and screaming into this.
Well,
right? It just felt
well, that is not accurate. And so I'm simply saying that was always the agenda, always the plan. In countless cabinet meetings, we discussed how we would deploy the various things that we had to do. For example, there was a feeling that in terms of housing, that the unity government was not moving fast enough. Now, every day, houses are being handed out in St. It was all part of saying, listen, how do we structure our term? How do we deliver on our commitments to the people? And we recognize you can't do everything in the same time and the same day. And you have 5 years within which to deliver, and 5 years work that the people judge you on.
And so the bottom line is, Mr. Brantley, you'd think that it was reasonable to govern for 3.5 years on a plank which, as you said, was one of the main planks, and you thought it was reasonable to wait 3.5 years to enact that.
Well, in fairness, caller, the other party waited for 20 years and never did it. So if we're doing it in 3.5 years, then we have moved mountains.
You see,
in fairness, we have moved mountains because the country survived for over 30 years as an independent country without IPL. For over 30 years it survived without freedom of information. So say what you will. Say what you will.
That would have been so much greater if we had that. You know, we would have been saved, we would have been spared the heartache and the pain of so much nonsense that happened in government if we had these things earlier.
Well, and that is that.
And you know something too? It's as you well know as foreign minister, the international community is really spearheading this as well, because they're just sick of the corruption and that kind of thing that in government, right? So in a sense, really, they have no choice. And that's why I said it's kicking and screaming, and it should not have been that way.
Well, caller, that is your characterization. I think you're wrong, but we live in a democracy and you're entitled to your opinion. But thank you very much. Thank you for your observations as always. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. We have about half an hour to go. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. And, callers will differ. People will have their different opinions. Sometimes, a man told me once he sent flowers to his wife. And when he got home expecting a nice hug and a kiss, she asked, "What bad you do? What bad you do?" And he asked, "What do you mean? Well, how come you send me flowers?" So she interpreted the receipt of flowers that he had done something wrong. Sometimes it is all in terms of our perspective. What I said to this caller is, listen, if you have 5 years to do something, each government is entitled to order the way in which they do to deliver on their commitments. And at the end of the 5-year period, that is when you judge them. You can't judge them after 3 years and say, "Oh, you don't do this yet and you don't do that yet." And I continue to marvel at some of our people, frankly. Because some of our people supported a party that was in power for 20 years, almost a generation. 20 years. In which time there was no transparency, there was no good governance agenda, there was none of that. And yet they supported, hip hip hooray, marched and rallied and supported. And here is a new government which has achieved what it has achieved in 3.5 short years. And those same people who had no comments in 20 years now accuse the government of 3.5 years of moving too slowly on certain matters. Well, how could that be rational? How could that be sensible? And that is the difficulty that I have. Because if you were unable to comment or criticize for 20 years, unable to say these things for 20 years, but now would criticize a young government. It is a young government. Yes, this government has had its difficulties. Which government hasn't? But on balance, look at what Eugene Hamilton is doing in housing. Eugene doesn't tote his horn, he's a quiet person, but look at what Eugene Hamilton, there has never in this country been such a housing revolution as the people of St. Kitts are now enjoying. Never. Look at what Hamilton has done. 3.5 years. IPL legislation, the appointment of the Integrity Commission, freedom of information legislation. We have other draft legislation that we will bring. We are looking at aspects of electoral reform. In addition to that, we have grown the economy year after year. We have jobs available. People are flocking in here from all around the region. We have the best performing economy in the region. And it's not we who say so. It's the Central Bank and the IMF and them. They say so. So our people need, sometimes I want to know, what is it you want? What is it you want? And how it is that for 20 long years you had nothing to say. But you now want to kill a government of 3.5 years to tell them, crime, you must solve the problem. For 20 years you couldn't solve it, but in 3.5 years you must solve it. And all the ills in the country, you must solve in 3.5 years. Because unity name is Jesus. But for those that were there before, they get a pass. But yet you support them. So this is a difficulty I have. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a democracy. And whilst people are entitled to their own opinions, they're not entitled to their own facts. And I believe that the vast majority of the people of this country will look at the record, look at the performance, and make a determination. And the simple question that everybody must answer, am I better off? Is my country better off? And I think on balance, when you ask that question, it is clear that the answer has to be yes. You are, the country is, we all are better off than we were. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. We have 25 minutes left. Good evening, you're on the mark.
You should have tell the man go for any class at 20.
Hello?
You should have tell the man go for any class A 20 years class he been in.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello? Hello? Okay, that caller isn't there. We're going to ask callers, please, to continue to try. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Bradley.
Good evening to you.
Going back, that gentleman, I think all he's trying to do is get a spokes, trying to break up friendship between Unity and the Nevis and CCM. That's all he's trying to do. But don't pay attention to him, because he's been there. When you ask him some time ago, I remember you asked him where he was all these years. He said he was working for government, and he couldn't say that. Why couldn't he? Well, if he was working for government, that was the time he was supposed to praise them up. But no, he didn't say anything, and now he wants everything. Now, I'm sure he agreed with Labour when they said they're going to repair the old high school, Bastia High School, which is nonsense. All those kind of things turn people's mind from them. How can he expect people to agree with something like that? And another thing again, Mr. Bandry, I heard Carrie Maynard talking about you someday on the radio, saying you should give account for the money that you're getting from Unity. I mean, what account you have to give? It's our money from the passport. It's nothing that they're giving us. You're entitled to that. So I don't see who you got to give account to. Good night, sir.
Thank you very much for that. Let's continue to take some calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Good evening to you, my premier.
Good evening, my brother.
Yeah, how you do?
I'm well. I'm hearing condolences being extended to you tonight.
Yeah.
I want to join in extending my own condolences to you and the family.
Thank you very much. And also I want to send out condolences to the Hobart family in Rollins.
Yes.
Family of Wise. And also the guy that we usually know him as famous as Kraft. Hilton man. Used to live in Rollins, but family from Hollis Road as well. Diana Maynard and Hendrickson.
Yes.
Yes, and also Crib, my good friend Crib from Brown Hill. I know him pretty well. I just want to send out condolences to Patty's Library as well. You know, this look like think it's a Nevis turn. But, you know, God is in the midst. And as Patty's always use the proverb, it's only a process. And I want to say that we just got to keep looking up, because the good book tells you, man redemption is drawing nigh. And I want to say, we must not give up. Do whatever you're doing, whatever you think is best for your country, continue to do it. People will talk, whether you do or do not. And we cannot afford to be looking back. We got to go forward. So once you continue to go forward, the gang sales will always be there. Just like Sambalak and Tobiah like to bleach hole by night, you just got to continue to build and build a strong structure that will stand up years to come. Don't mind Sambalak and Tobiah. You continue to build. God bless you. Have a good night.
Okay, my brother. Thank you very much for that. Let's stick with the telephones and take some more calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
That's what I tell you, how bitter he be. If it don't surprise if he can go run for election, he too bitter. Why he getting an answer? Something he missed what he was to get. Good night again.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's try again. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yeah, Mark Sadio.
Yes.
I would just like everyone to know that the Nevis dance is on Saturday night in the Bronx.
Which Saturday? This coming Saturday?
This coming Saturday.
Uh-huh.
September 1st in the Boogie Down Bronx. So we are asking everyone to turn out. And
you have the address, Sadio?
3061 Bainbridge Street in the Bronx, New York City.
Okay.
And thanks for allowing me to put through this free ad. Thank you very much for the people of Nevis.
Yes,
thanks.
man, and thanks for all the hard work that you and your team continue to do. Okay?
All right.
All right, thank you. Let's stick with our phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hello.
Hello, you're on the air.
Oh, good night, Honorable Mark.
Good night to you.
And how are you doing?
I am well, thank you.
Don't let them stress you.
No, man, no, I'm okay.
Tell them simmer down, simmer down. You got to learn to simmer down, you know.
Yes.
And you simmer down too. Let them stress you.
If I simmer down anymore, I'll fall asleep, man.
Lord, you see when you know the Bible, you were Sunday school, right?
Yes.
But you know the story in the book of Nehemiah. When Nehemiah was busy building the wall, Sanballat and Tobiah come by and say, you see that wall, shaky wall, if anything jump upon it, it will tumble down. And when that wouldn't work, they say, come, let's talk. And Sanballat said, look, hello, I am too busy. Ain't got time to come down and talk with you all. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I have work to do. So it's one distraction after another, you know. But what you need to give them are the facts. The facts, you know, because our people need to be educated. Ask them where the car factory, when they went in first, you know, my good former prime minister said he was going to bring up a factory to make cars or to assemble cars.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened to it. The number of unfulfilled promises that they made.
Well, I remember the one about stevia. Remember that massive industry that we'd have had here with...
Well, I'm sure he done had a cup of tea with stevia in it. And how he went up there and he saw all the stevia and he played golf too, you know? You know he played golf too, right? Down La Valley? Yeah, they won a golf down there. Then when people went now looking for this golf course, they couldn't find it.
They played a road of golf at La Valley?
Yeah, he said so.
Where? Where in the galvanized?
Ask the same one who was calling you. And when I asked him, because my daughter lives in Barbados, and he brought down a man from Barbados who was doing, you know Barbados, right? All right. There's a place called Apes Hill. In Orange Hill, the area is called Orange Hill. And there's this big golf course thing. And the gentleman was building it. He brought him down here as a sham. Said the man is going to come and look at it and see if he could think. And when I asked Dr. Douglas on the radio what was the status of La Valley, he said he found out that it was being sold, or to be sold. That was his response to me, you know. That's what happened to the man. Oh, I had to stop in and stop the sale. You know, just one set of cock and bull after another. And because people do record what you say in their head or whatever, they get away with it. And then I hear some of them who play statistician. You know, they like to leave out the year that matter. Oh, you know, the last 2 years there's a boom in economy. 4 straight years of decline. 4 straight years of negative growth. And you have these young men talking about, oh, we have a boom in economy after 4 straight years of decline. And now one was doing some analysis today. He analyzing from 2012 to 2015. He's not going to touch 2011 when they're 37. People need to begin to give them analysis, because they're setting out a lot of things. They're not better there, you know. But there's an assumption that people are stupid. And when you got educated people treating ordinary people as they're stupid, we're not going to get anywhere. They're no better.
Well, I'm a little concerned, caller, at the suggestion, they continue to try to play with crime as a football. And the suggestion that
crime
started on the Unity.
You know, I tell somebody, go onto the website, gun policy, GUN, gun policy. You see the number of deaths by firearms, and see who here against them. Who here? Who were the friends of the drug people? Had them leading the parade, you know. When I talk, all they could do is abuse. And God is my stronghold, because I have the facts. Big parade in town, and they're talking about crime. If you, and that go for even unity, you cannot befriend or make people who are involved in drugs and crime feel comfortable in your party. You can't have them acting as if they're some elected member and controlling your party activities. And then you come to wash off your mouth and then come, oh, you know, the crime. Well, what happened when they were running your party? You know, people need to put these things straight in the face. Because the country not going to get any better. Because if they do it, and then you all go and do it, then we are no further on. But when everybody know what everybody do, then we better off. So when you hear them talking, get the facts for them. Don't argue with them. I don't argue with them. I just give them the facts and the stats. Because I'm a Christian, so I'm not going to lie. Anyway, good night to Jennifer Freeman, Laureen Freeman, and all the members of the Association of the Society for People with Disability in Nevis. Good night with those in St. Kitts. I reached there now. But see how I can see my mouth is good, and my head is good, and my brain working fast. Good night to Louise Brown down at, what the place in Nevis? Sheriff. Good night.
Okay.
Good night to all of my relatives, all the Freeman, the Payne, the Jeff was all who something to me. Good night to everybody.
Okay.
And simmer down, right? Tell them simmer down. When I call you next time, say simmer down. All right then.
Good. Thank you very much. Let's go back to the phones and continue to take some calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Yes, Mr. Brantley.
Yes.
Just one more intervention.
Sure.
I absolutely agree that we should get the facts. Absolutely agree, right? And so you should check your facts about the so-called Mr. Hamilton's housing revolution. And I'm sure, Mr. Brantley, you would not like anybody to distort your legacy. The fact is, right, you don't have to take my word or Mrs. Henry's word or anybody else's word. Go for people who you know have their reputation to protect, who don't have any access to grind, who are unbiased. People like the late Sir Dwight Venner, who said we were the best performing economy in the OECS.
But you're asking me to go. You're asking me to go to the late Dwight Venner. How are you gonna get to him?
No. It's a quote from him. That's what he said.
I see.
He said that St. Kitts and Nevis was the best performing economy in the OECS.
And when did he say that? When did he say
about a year before he died. Right? He was still central bank governor when he said that. Right? And those are hard facts. Go to the IMF and World Bank reports. Okay? Every country had its problems in those.
Well, you started out by telling me that Hamilton's housing.
The fact is, we emerged better than our neighbors.
Caller, you started out by telling me Hamilton's housing revolution, and then you segued into Dwight Venner.
Facts. What I was saying was facts. Right? We should check our facts.
So you're saying that is not factual?
Given how many houses compared to how many before?
Well, every day that I turn on the television or turn on my phone, I get a flood of messages.
Optics, Mr. Brantley.
So you mean those people they get in their keys is false people, is fake people?
No, not false.
The mannequin?
Not false, but go with the hard numbers, facts, right? How many houses were delivered then as compared with how many before, right? You have to have some kind of reference point. Right? Don't go with it. That's what I'm saying. It's not about TV appearances and that sort of thing. Of course, that's optics. And of course you should take advantage of it. I don't fault them for taking advantage of that. Right? You've got to make yourself look good. But if you look at the background facts, look at the hard facts. Okay? And just, you should look at this in like doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like I said, you would not like anybody to distort your legacy. Of course, everybody make mistakes, right? But, give somebody credit when they due credit. That's my point, right? Okay, the fact is, a lot of the stuff that's going on now is because we inherited a good economy, right? Yes, we went through some tough times. But as you well know, right, as you well know, the test of the mettle of a man, of a leader, is how he pulls us through tough times. Not when the sailing is good, when a lot of money there flowing around. Okay? And that's just my point, right? Give credit where credit is due.
Would you also accept then, caller, that you lay blame where blame is due? So if you're going to give the credit, 3.5 years after government has changed, You said the economy is because we should give credit where it is due. 3.5 years we're having a problem with crime. Who do we attribute that to?
Well, who is the sitting government?
Okay. All right, caller. Thank you very much. We have 10 minutes to go. You give credit for the good to the past government, but the sitting government must take responsibility for the bad. An amazing, amazing analysis by this caller. That's why I tell you, thank God you all have an opinion, but also thank God you all have a brain here. And our people need to listen carefully and analyze for themselves. Because I have never understood the logic in telling people that everything good that's happening in the country is because of the past government. They're the ones who built the foundation. They created what we are enjoying now. It is them. But everything bad that's happening in the country is the current government's fault. Let me tell you, caller, I have not heard from the police up to now that any gunman is 3.5 years old. Think about that. No gunman that I've heard about is 3.5 years old. It means that whoever is now committing those heinous crimes were brought up and grew up in a particular era, because none of them are 3.5 years old. So if you're going to come and tell us that the good that the country is enjoying is a result of the past government, then you must also say that the bad is a consequence of their actions. You can't hold water and fire in the same hand. So when we have debates, let us have sensible and reasonable debates. Let's go back to the phones. We have about 10 minutes left. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Mr. Brantley?
Yes, you're on the mark.
I had to call back again because this man seems like he have a short memory. Now, under sugar cultivation, the land was used up because of sugar. So Dr. Simmons couldn't build so much houses, but after 95, when the government was changed, he had more land, and then you're telling me when the sugar industry closed down, you have more land was available then. So the Labour Party could have built more houses, yes, and they had our CBI program, which is the passport for St. Kitts and Nevis, because some people feel like the passport only marks St. Kitts and not Nevis, but it was the passport of St. Kitts and Nevis. The Sugar Diversification Foundation was blooming then, but who killed it? So this is something that we got to understand.
Yeah, but caller, let us also remember that in anything in life, you can't compare a 20-year-old man to a 3.5-year-old man. A boy, you can't compare a 20-year-old woman to a 3.5-year-old girl.
Exactly.
Right? So if you're gonna say that you're comparing housing, you can't possibly compare a 20-year record of housing to a 3.5-year record.
Exactly.
Right? So these are arguments in my view that don't make a lot of sense.
That nonsensical. So I would say this to you. Mr. Nickel had a program this week, and he was talking about psychopath and sociopath. It seems like we have a lot of them in St. Kitts and Nevis. God bless you. Have a good night.
All right, good. We got about 6 minutes left. Let's use it wisely. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello?
Hello?
You're on the mark.
Yes. Mr. Brantley?
Yes.
That gentleman does not give credit to the unity government. I don't know what the unity government have for him. But I could tell he gonna always rant and rave, because the unity government is here and here to stay, and they're doing great wonders. They're fixing roof, they're giving out house. I don't care what he said about the houses them. They never do it like that. We teaching them how to do things, and then I get back in there. And he need to go pay back the government.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's stick with the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, that call isn't there. Somebody else that we could try? Okay, we have about 5 minutes left, and we're taking your calls. Oh, you know, every day in St. Kitts and Nevis, the politics is just interesting, you know. But I think the caller kind of, for me, captured the essence and the enormity of the hypocrisy that we have at work in the debates that we see, that everything good in the country is due to a foundation laid by the previous government. So that 3.5 years later, this government has done nothing good. But everything bad in the country is a result of 3.5 years of this government. You can't have it both ways. Let's go back again and try. 4 minutes to the hour. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Mr. Brantley,
yes.
Thing we supper, you hear begging about it with it.
All right, thank you. We have a few minutes left. I was trying to get some information, but I can't get it. Sorry. But, ladies and gentlemen, we've had an interesting show. We still have the opportunity to take a few more calls. And so if there are persons out there who would like to call in and share some information or to debate, as I get into the final few minutes. Okay, let's take this call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Mr. Brantley, I want to give you a little advice. You need to get some clips to play that when somebody talk nonsense, you tell them, hold on, play the clip and let them hear. You need to get some clips like patches, because that is what sweet me at night time. When you listen to patches and you play the clip, and you say, what do you think about this? Have been said so and so time. This is the problem. If we don't remind our people about our history, where we come from, how can we know where we're going? Have a good night.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, just to remind the general public that on the 16th of September, we have National Heroes Concert, Steel Pulse and Third World, along with local acts du jour, Byron Messiah and Ripper HD, will be at the Cultural Complex, the Cultural Village, starting at 9 p.m. We're inviting all of St. Kitts and Nevis to come out for a good night of togetherness. We're asking people to wear their national colors, although the concert is free. And so you don't have to pay an admission. Just come out and wear your national colors. We're hoping the vendors will come out and make some money, and we're hoping that people will come out and enjoy themselves. We have time for maybe one more call, so let's take this call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Honorable Premier.
Yes, good evening.
Good night to you, sir. First time calling your program.
Okay. You have about 2 minutes. You've left it to the last, so you only have about 2 minutes. Go ahead.
I want to congratulate you on the work that you're doing over there in Egypt and the work that the whole federal government is doing on the whole. St. Kitts and Nevis is growing together. And for one, it's happening. It never happened before. And now it's happening. Do not pay any attention to the Trough-Man. He's possessed. Have a good night.
Thank you very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an interesting night. I'm here on my phone, drastically, frantically trying to get some info. Doesn't look like I'm going to get it. So I'll leave that then until another time. We have 1 minute left. Do we have another caller? Can we take this last call as our final call? Caller, good evening. You're on the mark.
May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again.
Thank you very much. That's the last word. May the good Lord bless and keep us all until we meet again. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We want to thank all of you who called, all of you who were part of the show. It was a wonderful evening this evening. Good debate, good discussion. Thank you. This show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here at Von Radio. And I'm reminding the general public, please, that on Friday morning at 10:30, starting thereabouts, we're going to have the swearing-in of our new Deputy Governor General, Mrs. Hailita Liburd, and the demission of office of the previous Deputy Governor General, acting Her Honor Marjorie Morton. I want to thank Marjorie Morton for her service, and I want to welcome Her Honor Hailita Liburd to the role and to look forward to serving with her. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, and may God bless and keep you. Thank you.